Hey gang, before we kick off the show, we have a special announcement, and that is that you should save the date. Friday, June 3rd, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be streaming live over at twitch.tv/byte the entire second season of Fight Night, all the way to the concluding season finale. The gang is all going to be there, so we look forward to seeing you there Friday, June 3rd, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So with that being said, Juan, play the music. On this episode, we talk about WWE Releases, New Era Spam, The Club on Raw, Dana Brooke making her debut, making Darren Young great again, and more now on Byte That. Hey gang, what's going on? Welcome. You're listening to episode 142 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, the place where we talk about that which is the WWE Universe. So thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. We are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music. And if that's not enough, we do have the YouTube channel, Byte That Cast, where we provide at least a bare minimum of 3 videos a week, including the podcast, over 5,000 subscribers. We always appreciate your support, your reviews on iTunes, and everything that you do to get the word out, including participating in Twitch streams. As we mentioned at the top of the show, really cool things are happening. And something else that is really cool is that I'm from the Shining Star of the Caribbean, and my name is Juan Velas, alongside with Mr. Keith Poshik from Winnipeg, not on fire, Manitoba, Canada. Keith Poshik, and back to the show, folks, because we know we heard you. You cried. That one person cried from Boston, Massachusetts. Ryan McNulty. Keith, we got to kick it off with you, man. What has been happening with Canada?
What is this?
Yeah, half my country is on fire, and I get your thunder.
Okay. You get a free pass. Go ahead.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, it's crazy. There's so much fire happening in Canada right now. There's a little town where I used to actually live for a period of time called Fort McMurray, Alberta, that is on fire. If you haven't looked it up, it's one of the most craziest things. And not to get all like charity case, but you know, if you want to help those people, go ahead. Kevin Owens and Tyler Breeze actually have a very cool GoFundMe page going on right now, where if you send a donation to the Fort McMurray like relief fund, that they'll follow you on Twitter, and if you match the donation, they'll send you a little video. But yeah, it's crazy. I saw this this picture online of the blaze behind the apartment building that I used to live in when I was up there, and that really put it all into perspective.
How does that feel?
Wow.
It's a feeling I can barely describe it. It's the most insane thing.
Yeah, and as far as I know, the fire is still going strong. They said that the only real way that can go down is like with a severe rain occurring, and that doesn't seem to be happening right now. So
not in sight.
People, I mean, over like 90,000 homes or something like that.
Something like
were
that.
Evacuated.
Yeah, like 70,000 people were evacuated. Just hug everything.
Ridiculous.
Your family, your house. Just appreciate it, people, because you never know when it's going to go away.
Ryan, what happened in your weekend?
Well, on a much lighter note, I actually saw a couple weekends ago, I saw that WWE Countdown movie with Dolph Ziggler and Kane. Like,
was it a different kind of travesty?
Yeah. Very much so. Actually, this movie, it was not bad. Like, it was not on that, like, really bad movie level. It's just one of those movies that is very forgettable, does not really bring much to the table. And the real thing, the scene that got me to want to see this movie was the whole Rusev pointing a gun at Dolph Ziggler.
Does it live up to it?
Not at all, because here's what happens, okay? I'm going to save everybody an hour and a half from having to watch this movie. What happens with the Rusev gun scene is exactly some kid has like a bomb strapped to him at a WWE
what
show.
The hell?
So Dolph Ziggler is not Dolph Ziggler,
like,
and Kane
when
is not
you say
Kane.
Kid,
I mean kid.
Like child?
Like not 1, 2, 3
Yes,
kid.
there's a child with like or I think it's or they're trying to, like, the guy is there. He's meeting the guy who has the child captured with, like, a bomb strapped to him, right?
What the hell?
So, yeah, he's supposed to meet him at a WWE show. Anyway, there's some chase scene or whatever. And basically, he's like, you know, he's going through the backstage or whatever. And, like, Dolph Ziggler's going through, Rusev stops him, and like he drops his gun, and Rusev picks up the gun and points it at him, and then Ziggler kicks him, takes the gun and runs away, and like Lana says one line and that's it.
Oh man. People,
yeah.
Okay,
they randomly show like Roman Reigns
I have
stuff.
questions. So you mentioned that they're at a WWE show, but Ziggler isn't Ziggler. Rusev
Ziggler's not Ziggler.
Are
Kane
the rest
is not
of the
Kane.
superstars themselves, or is it like this
all
weird
the other
alternate
wrestlers
reality?
are themselves.
So is there like, does somebody play Dolph Ziggler at the show? And then
no, it doesn't get that meta level.
Wow.
It's a very brief scene, and then the rest of it has nothing to do with WWE, so it was very disappointing. I thought it was going to be some crazy thing. Also, the Ascension have like the longest entrance they've ever had in their life.
It's barely part of the show?
Yeah.
Like, that's barely part of the movie? They showed it in the trailer like 15 times.
Oh, and no, one thing that's funny about it, though, is you can tell, like, part of it, most of it is shot at like a house show.
Yeah.
But then randomly there's just one scene where it just switches to like Monday Night Raw. It just becomes like the set changes to Monday Night Raw for like one quick shot.
All right, I need to see this movie.
No, you don't.
No, I do.
Well, hopefully WWE Camp, almost like Band Camp, is better, which we did see. At least I know two of us did. Did you watch it, Ryan?
I did not watch it. I've been on a Game of Thrones kick. I have to catch up.
That's okay. You watched Countdown. It makes
But
up
I
for
did
it.
watch Countdown, so I brought something to show and tell this week.
So next week, you're going to talk to us about NXT. Awesome, man. Yeah, so we have
as
some...
soon as Keith does the WrestleMania 20 review.
Sooner rather than never. Okay, so let's actually get to a couple of things that happened. Passing by quickly, last week was apparently some kind of cleaning spree where we're going to get to something happening where Vince stated that more call-ups are going to happen from NXT. It's apparently going to be the biggest roster that the main WWE roster as a whole has had in a very long time. So last week we saw the release of Cameron, Damien Sandow, El Torito, Alex Riley, Hornswoggle, Zeb Coulter, and Wade Barrett. I posted a video on the YouTube channel where I go into more detail about Damien Sandow and Wade Barrett specifically. So if you guys want to hear that, you can check that out right there. I want to get your reactions regarding the whole roster and if there's anything in here that really caught your eye. And just as a tidbit, Sandow is already going to be wrestling for Global Force Wrestling. So the man is wasting no time at all to really get active in the independent scene.
You know, good for him, though, because Sandow was really the one that stuck out to me. But we've been saying for a very long time that Sandow needs to leave the WWE and try something elsewhere, whether it be wrestling or not. But all the rest of them were really predictable. You could kind of see coming. Barrett, there had been rumors for a while. The rest of the people weren't really doing too much. Alex Riley, I was shocked, was still there. In complete honestly, not a big fan of Alex Riley, but yeah.
Why don't you say that to his face, Keith?
I would. I honestly would.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you never want to be happy about anyone losing their jobs. I mean, it's definitely is an unfortunate for everyone who was released. But you had to think, I mean, they were calling so many people up. You had to think that some releases were coming because it's just, there's not enough room for everybody. And yeah, I mean, of the two, I think the most unfortunate, I mean, we know Barrett was on his way out, so that wasn't a big surprise. I think the most unfortunate ones are definitely, Zeb Coulter, El Torito, and Sandow, for different reasons. I mean, Sandow is a guy who really succeeded at almost everything he did. It just, for one reason or another, things just didn't go the right way. And I think you guys are right when they say, he just needs to go somewhere else, start fresh, rebuild himself, and maybe he'll come back someday. I mean, you look at a guy like Luke Gallows who left, built himself back up, and now he's back in the company. Torito is just a guy, I mean, this guy is so talented, but it's just other than Hornswoggle, what are you going to do? Who are you going to really work with? How many, David versus Goliath angles could he work? You know what I mean?
Those WLC matches, though.
Yeah, exactly. We'll always have WLC. But it's just what else can you really do with him besides have him feud with Hornswoggle? And, obviously Coulter, the whole Mex America thing was, terrible. But it's I mean, there could have been some value to him managing somebody, but it is what it is. Alex Riley, I guess his heart was set on being a wrestler. I feel like he'd still be around if he just stayed as an announcer. He wasn't the greatest at commentary to begin with, but I felt like he started getting more comfortable in that kind of analyst and commentary role. Once he stopped mentioning his career and the whole stuff with The Miz, he really found himself in that role. And I felt like if he stuck with that, he might have still had a job. But once he went back into wrestling, it was really all downhill.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Alex Riley's maybe the odd one out because he came back to NXT, had this weird run where he got stomped down by Kevin Owens, and that was probably his highlight, as everybody keeps calling out when Kevin Owens was going to the outside.
Like, when Alex Riley was doing the commentary and then Kevin Owens attacked him, and then he had that, like, promo with Regal or something to, like, get back into it, he was very, very good. Like, his promo was really good. I mean, there is something there, but based on a lot of the tweets that I see him send out, there's also something very off about Alex Riley.
And I think that's where it all kind of fell apart for Riley, how he just didn't really keep his mouth shut like an employee should on social media. And yeah, when it came to the in-ring stuff, especially with that last run with Kevin Owens, it wasn't bad. He's actually supposed to be on NXT this week, which is kind of a funny little thing. He's has a match with Nakamura.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I think the last food for thought you can get here is that with the situation regarding Ryback and Alex Riley's tweets where they speak, negatively about the fans and the company as a whole and their position, and then you see Alex Riley getting released and Ryback's gear is on sale, apparently WWEshop.com. Like, not what he actually wears, but the clothing. Gear's like, they're just selling his clothing, man. He's got nothing. But it for any time that you think, oh, they're just tweeting as the character, you kind of got to second think that now. Like, is that the character or is that the person?
I even heard the rumor that Cameron, from commenting about the whole Ryback situation and supporting him, actually got released instead of somebody else who was supposed to get released. I don't know how true that is, but that kind of, packs in the fact of you gotta be careful what you say on social media.
And just like any job, that it's really not about WWE, and it do take it with a grain of salt. Like, that is strictly a rumor, but the fact of the matter is that she's gone. But we're gonna talk about many other divas, hence why maybe they cleared up some space. The next topic here, we're going to have a follow-up regarding last week. Last week we said that the new era may be the new Divas Revolution, where they want to cement this new thing into your brain. And they said it a total, you told me this, Ryan, a total 17 times during Raw?
That is correct. 17 times in 3 hours. And I think they got at least 5 out of the way in the first half hour.
Now, I want to give a quick pause here. Give me your overall enjoyment for the episode.
I thought Raw was pretty damn good. Most Raws have been far above average, after WrestleMania. There was a few in the middle where I was about, but this Raw I thought was very good. And I think the main aspect of it is we had good matches that had consequences. You know what I mean? When they had some build up to it, and it felt like everybody had a reason for why they were in the match, and that always goes a very long way with actually being invested and caring about what's going on. Because, even if you get some amazing matchups, if it's just a nothing match with, no consequences to it, it's really hard to care sometimes.
Exactly. Go look at that chain of Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio from a couple of years ago that happened week after week after week. It's a perfect example of the other side of the point that you're making. But yeah, Raw was a really good show this week. I still feel that drop off near the end of the third hour where I'm just I just can't do it anymore. Even though these Raws are so good, I just feel burnt out by the end of it.
The one thing though is they were very smart to do the Cass and Jericho thing last, because this was the third show in a row, because we went Raw, SmackDown, and then Raw again of this 6-man tag match of, and I was kind of rolling my eyes at that match to begin with, just because we're okay, we got that on Raw, SmackDown, now we're getting it again. Okay, it's elimination. How different is that really? Obviously they added some some elements to it, but still, when you hear that that's going to be your main event, you're kind of like, I might be able to skip that. But the fact that they put that like at the 10 o'clock hour in the Jericho casting at the end was like, oh, I get to stick around to see what happens.
The reason I gave a pause to the whole New Era thing is because despite that spamming of the phrase, we enjoyed the episode. So I completely agree with what you guys said. I thought it was a highly enjoyable episode from many different perspectives. You know, you got a bunch of people that are coming back. You got Dana Brooke, who was rumored to show up on Raw. She did. And we got Paige back for that matter. And what I want to bring to the table is, are they using this as a buffer for the traditional fan that maybe doesn't care too much about the new guys, that they care more about the part-timers, you know, your Triple H's, your Jerichos for that matter. But then when you look at Raw, so much of the current roster are NXT guys or people that have just come in the past 2 to 3 years. Dolph Ziggler is an old guy. Like, Dolph Ziggler's storyline is with Baron Corbin, and the whole thing is that he's the established guy when before this, remember Survivor Series when we were talking about the sole survivor Dolph Ziggler? That seems like ages ago because it kind of was at the same time. But do you think that WWE is aware that they do need to change something? They do need to build new stars, but they can't afford to lose that old audience, and maybe spamming New Era is their way of letting them know, hey, we're just changing things up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with branding. It's just when you beat it over somebody's head. And if they're expecting, I mean, maybe most people don't watch the full 3 hours, but if they want you to watch the full 3 hours, then just kind of beating you over the head with the message is not the right way to do it. I have no problem with branding at all, putting a label on something, but when you feel like you're being manipulated, that's when it's a turnoff.
It's you could almost make the same arguments that we made back in the day for the Divas Revolution, because you brought that up. Just let it happen naturally. Okay, you're going into a new era. Mention it once or twice. Don't tell us. Show us. Show us how great these new matches are. Show us how exciting this change is. Just let it happen.
It's true, but unfortunately there's no, like, wrestling and subtlety apparently can't get along as much as we'd all love it to. So it's just like, I feel like there's a happy medium. You know, instead of 17 times, let's go with maybe 6.
How about just, like just once every 20 minutes?
Once every half an hour, we're golden.
We're going to have to keep track next episode, or somebody that's listening.
It's maybe about the way they do it. Maybe, you know, if Michael Cole says it, you know, every hour, whatever. But when all of a sudden, like, Jericho's saying it in a backstage promo or something, that's where it's like, all of a sudden it's taking you out of it, because it's like, would Jericho, like, follow the branding? Like, if he's in he's mad about Big Cass.
Good point.
But why is he's shoehorning in the New Era there? Just, you know what I mean? Like, when it's getting into the wrestlers' promos and stuff over just, you know, Michael Cole, who's supposed to be the voice, then that's where it's like, it's kind of pulling you out of it, because it's just like, oh, they're throwing this and everything. Just like what they would do at the network shows, where they would plug network shows within the promos. You wouldn't see
them on Ride Along.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is still another problem they have.
You know, it's like, if you're going to say it 17 times, have Michael Cole and Stephanie McMahon say it 17 times, not the wrestlers.
So let's actually talk about some of the wrestlers. So Big Cass last week
Superstars,
did get this opportunity. Superstars. We got to be consistent.
It's a huge nitpick, by the way, because like we said, Raw was pretty damn good. So we're just being nitpicky.
See, that's funny. You can almost make a barometer where, like, what are the people actually complaining about this week? Oh, it's the whole, they mentioned New Era. Well, that's a pretty small complaint in the grand scheme of things. Raw
I'm happy that's all I'm complaining about.
Yeah, and we do need to be objective about things. So if that's the complaint that we're having this week, that's a pretty damn good complaint to have. So let's actually talk about Big Cass. So as I was mentioning, he got this singles opportunity next week. Yes, and you cannot teach that. So he really is getting this opportunity to really just shine by himself while Enzo recovers. We don't really know how long it's going to be before Enzo comes back. I'm assuming it's not going to be too long. But then again, with concussions, Daniel Bryan, crazy things are a possibility. Ryan, you actually sent us a message during Raw about your concern about this. Usually, whenever somebody gets a spotlight like this, they don't tend to just go back into a tag team scene. So we could have a hypothetical scenario where Enzo comes back and it's like, well, Cass is already sort of by himself. Where do you see this going? And what's your big worry, sir?
Well, the only reason I got worried was I yesterday morning I read some wrestling news, and one of the points I see is
wrestling.
Vince McMahon is really high on Big Cass, to the surprise of no one. So then I go and watch Raw, and in the first segment, it's like, okay, Big Cass is in the main event now against Chris Jericho. I'm just like, whoa, what, that
he's really
that report,
Big Cass.
Things move pretty quickly these days. But after seeing all of Raw, I think it, so far so good. I think they're doing the right thing of like, you just got to be careful about overexposing the guy too soon. Like, he just got on the roster. And the best thing for him is to, stay relevant and, don't overexpose him. And when Enzo comes back, just let them just have a run in the tag division, because Enzo is definitely the best thing for Big Cass right now. He's pretty good on the mic, but I definitely think there's a lot of room for improvement there. He doesn't look completely comfortable, but he's definitely better than most.
But
he's very traditional.
Is the scenario of them in a tag team really the best one? Because the more I think about it, having like Enzo on the mic and then Cass be the heavy, be the wrestler, the superstar, I can't even get my own branding right, isn't that the best scenario? Because you play to both of their strengths. 'Cause even in their tag team, that was kind of their stick. Like, Enzo would come in, get beat up, Big Cass would get the hot tag, finish the match off, right? So why not just let Big Cass have that singles run with Enzo by his side as a manager?
Well, honestly, I think that you can make the comparison to Xavier Woods, which is similar. But when you think about the whole tag team that they do have, Enzo barely ever gets a move in. So really it's almost like a handicap match, right? So if anything, I think that tag team situation is going to help them out a lot. I think the problem is that because the Enzo concussion happened so fast, we haven't really seen that happen in the main roster. So everything we're talking about right now is basically assumption.
Yeah, I think it's just that if they're a tag team, it's it takes a lot of the pressure off of Cass to just have it be all like the spotlight all on him, as opposed to Enzo just being his manager. And like, you kind of I feel like you're taking so much more heat off of it if it's just a tag team. And it's like, we don't have to worry about, is Cass the next John Cena, the next Roman Reigns if he's in that singles run? Like, they think, if Vince McMahon's going to push him to the moon and then everyone's going to hate him, and you get that whole scenario. I feel like you just let him establish himself in the tag division. What's up?
Yes. No, we have seen that happen. So, we as fans can attest to that.
Because
Roman Reigns was a tag team champion at one point.
Yeah. The second they strap the rocket to Big Cass, the IWC will turn their back on him and talk about how terrible he is.
Don't strap anything onto Cass at all. Just leave the man.
He's already 7 feet tall.
And you can't teach that. Okay, so enough terrible references here. Let's actually talk about the female competitors, superstars, to continue with the branding this episode. Couple things. Number one, Paige is back again. Tell a friend. And she battles. Wow, that was bad.
I thought you said we were done with those.
Yeah, apparently not. But she had an outstanding match, I have to say, with Charlotte. Dare I say, the best match this episode of Raw. What did you guys think about that?
I will not lie. I did not see that part of Raw.
What?
So I will take your word for it.
I appreciate your honesty, though, but it was an outstanding match.
I will now go back and watch it for sure.
Yeah, it was great to see Paige back. I mean, once like her music hit, you're like, oh yeah, like where's Paige been all this time? And I was glad to see, like, I almost thought she was just going to get, like...
she's been around for a little bit. Not in the spotlight, but she has been around. Like, she was
But
at
I almost thought,
WrestleMania.
like, oh, because she hasn't been super relevant, that she's kind of going to just get, like, fed to Charlotte. So I was really glad to see that Paige was actually able to win, and, like, they're making her, you know, not just kind of job to Charlotte and just kind of be a pawn in this natty Charlotte feud. So yeah, no, it was really nice to see her back. It's kind of weird with the whole, I don't know quite what the true rules are in wrestling. If someone's barred from ringside and they show up, is there supposed to be a DQ? Like, I don't know the technicalities of that.
There should be, based on the whole stipulation, right?
It's like,
Yeah,
oh, if
that
they don't
sounds like
get
a
involved, though,
disqualification.
is it like okay? Not quite sure. But other than that, no, good to see Paige back. Hopefully there's more for her to do.
Yeah, indeed. And there could be, because in another segment, they've been developing the storyline between Becky Lynch and Emma, which I love. The fact that Emma is finally getting a spotlight on the main roster. She was outstanding once she really transformed herself in NXT. She was there with Dana Brooke, which kind of sucked, you know, that Emma went back up to the main roster by herself. But Dana's there, so playtime is over. Ryan, I would pat you over the head right now if I could. Instead, I would probably just slap you because I really appreciate you as a friend.
Thank you.
That just you're welcome, man. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Is that the transition into Emma and Dana Brooke?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, hey, I think like Emma coming up, it was, you know, she came up for that WrestleMania match, and then it was kind of like, oh, she's feuding with Becky, but as great as this new Emma character is, it's kind of like, why should we care? But now Dana Brooke shows up, and it's like, they're going to kind of become this force to be reckoned with. And I think that's going to really help just the relevancy of them and lead to a tag team feud, it looks like, which is a great way to get some of the other women involved in another program. Because I think we can get to the point where we can have two women's programs going on just to keep everybody, you know, involved.
And Becky Lynch does have a good friend down there in NXT. Just going to point that out there.
Who are you?
Bailey.
Oh.
Bailey is who I'm talking about.
Oh, I never even thought of that. Very interesting.
But at the same time, Sasha Banks is literally doing nothing right now. Or Becky Lynch could also just get Paige.
Maybe the boss.
You mean that superstar that like people really wanted to see in the title picture, but then she wasn't in there, and now she's
as cool as it would be to see Bailey. Aren't we all worried that Sasha Banks has done nothing for like 3 weeks?
Oh man, you don't. Do we want to have that conversation right now? That's a bad one.
Sure. Is it?
I mean, we're technically having it. Honestly, I have no idea what the hell WWE's doing with Sasha. She's become just a dude. Like, and I think you guys get
okay. Did I miss the storyline?
Are we not doing
Vince
phrasing
Russo
anymore?
back on the writing team?
Well, you know, she wasn't sure about her life, that and because, you know, but like she's just become one of the guys. Like whenever she's in a segment or something, she stopped being the boss.
Wait, she was in the up, down, down thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and that's what she's doing.
She was kind
of
on Raw. She was in a Pizza Hut commercial.
But then aside from that, it's like you're not even in the scene, right? Like, weren't we having this thing where she was Becky Lynch's friend, you know, and but they both wanted the title, but now that's out of the way. Natalia's going for the title, so logically, shouldn't like Sasha be involved? Like, I don't know, just something is really weird.
Yeah, if she's really the one that they want to have beat Charlotte at SummerSlam, then she probably shouldn't be doing nothing. But it seems like Becky Lynch, they tried to do the Emma feud for Payback, but they just kind of dropped it. But now they're bringing it back for Extreme Rules. So maybe they just want to go with Becky Lynch for now to be the one who actually beat Charlotte. I don't know. It just seems weird that they keep kind of just like Sasha will show up and then she kind of disappears and then she showed up again and now she's disappearing again.
In the short term, I absolutely agree, but I think it really is one of those cases where the week that Sasha shows up, the week that she comes back into it, all sins will be forgiven. It'll be like, okay, yep, Sasha's back.
But
probably
it's almost
closer
like
to
you can't
SummerSlam.
have. It's almost like you can't have Paige and Sasha on the show actively at the same time. It's like, okay, Sasha's been in the back burner. Let's bring Paige back. Which, honestly, we've talked about people getting time off, right? Or just cooling down a little bit. So aren't we sort of getting that? So that's another conversation. But I do want to get to now Dana Brooke. Somebody that has not been on main roster television or even just NXT as a whole for a very long time. She had a very, very bad debut, but everything from her match with Asuka at a TakeOver, it really showed that she does have tremendous talent. I'm really happy that she's going to be up in the main roster. She's going to be like a definite contender for the Women's Championship. Not now, because obviously Charlotte and her are both, bad superstars, to avoid saying divas. But what do you guys think about that?
You mean like heels,
yeah,
not like
bad.
they're...
Well, I wanted to say bad. They're
villains.
Heels.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, to your point, Dana Brooke is easily one of the most improved people in NXT from debut to the last match she had on there. And I'm very curious if that will actually translate onto the main roster, if she will just kind of take this side role to Emma. I hope they give her the ball. I think she has more than enough talent to do so, but I just don't know if it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's a matter of being very careful. You just have Emma now finally getting the spotlight. You introduce
Now
Dana
she's
Brooke,
sharing it.
Yeah, so one of them has got to be the manager, and I do think that it's going to be more of, hey, you know everything Emma can do now because of the past couple of weeks or, ever since WrestleMania, but who's this Dana Brooke? What's her in NXT, and what's her by Emma's side, and eventually, I hope something does unfold, and please just do not turn on each other yet. This happens way too often. Just don't. If you're hearing us, just don't. Last topic here, combination, is so Dana Brooke. So we have Enzo and Cass. So many people have already transitioned to the main roster that we even said, so what is NXT, right? But then you feed it the system with Eric Young, etc. Guys like No Way Jose, easily Keith's favorite superstar, ATM. But apparently Vince McMahon... I'm just going to ignore your statement there. But apparently Vince McMahon stated that John Cena, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, the whole gang is coming back in about a month's time, month to 2 months. But wait, there's more. More call-ups are going to happen from NXT. It's going to be the largest roster. Given what's happening right now, let's take a look at the roster, the main one. Forget NXT right now. Do we really need more people aside from maybe a Seth Rollins, who was obviously at the top of the food chain before getting injured?
It sure seems real crowded on that roster right now. It's almost like they could take the roster, half of it, and then put it on a show exclusively, and then keep the other half on the other show exclusively.
Man, they really should do that. Almost like splitting the different brands into two.
Yeah,
East
I know.
And West.
Right?
If they honestly are bringing up even more people, I feel like that's the only thing that is going, that has to happen, right? Because like Keith said, it's getting pretty damn crowded. And I don't think they, you got Cena, Rollins, Bray all coming back too. It's going to get even more crowded. And then you want to call up even more people. And you got Shane and Stephanie co-running Raw, and they're getting along now, but that's not going to last. So it seems like the pieces are being set for a brand split.
And it does make sense. We haven't even talked about Shane and Stephanie for good reason, but that is a storyline that is still happening. And I think that especially once Cena gets involved into the scene again, that's when it's going to be okay, Stephanie and Shane cannot get along. Let's split this up. And honestly, if that is the case, and you are calling up a lot of people from NXT, etc., do the brand split. It's going to kill us as a podcast. I think a lot of people, it's how the hell do you cover two brands now, right? It's going to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But it makes sense because, that's true. That is going to be a challenge for us. I'm realizing
Let's cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Let's worry about that later.
It's a scary topic, though.
Yeah. It does make sense, though, that why they're calling up so many people, but it hasn't happened yet. Because traditionally, when they would reshuffle the rosters and stuff, it was always an after WrestleMania thing. But I think they probably want to wait for Cena and Rollins to be back, because it's clear that Cena is going to champion one of the brands, most likely SmackDown, if I had to guess. So I think they want to hold out for that big star power to have, because that you know, as many people as you want to call from NXT, and this is probably the most talented roster of all time, star power is also an important thing that they haven't given as much attention to, that they're just starting to do now.
Exactly. And plus they're hot off a ton of debuts recently, so either let them establish themselves or cool down, then bring in the next batch.
Exactly. So I believe that things are going to be really interesting post SummerSlam. I'm going to say instead of after WrestleMania, after SummerSlam, it's going to be time to shake things up again.
Is the night after SummerSlam going to be a thing now?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, pretty much at this point. But ladies and gentlemen, before we venture on into more topics about the WWE, we always want to talk about Fight Night because it is something that we love doing so much. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we are going to have a live stream where everybody in the Fight Night Galaxy, you're going to have a chance to really chat, hang out on Twitch on June 3rd. Something really cool. If you watch Fight Night and you support Super Cock, just going to say that name again, Super Cock, he is going to be battling the devil on June 3rd. Yes, that sounds absolutely ridiculous.
With no context, I'm sure it's great.
Yes, sir. We're going to contextify that in a couple of seconds. But you have until this Friday, May 13th until midnight, to send us a tweet at ByteThatCast or a video clip to either the Twitter or ByteThatCast@gmail.com, showing your support for Supercock. He's going to be battling the devil.
Yes.
And man,
Friday
you
the
can't say that 3 times.
Support.
Perfect.
The devil.
Yes, it's perfect.
Don't do that.
Exactly. But put out a little video supporting the superstar that is going to be ending the season in some way, shape, or form. More details on Twitter. But we actually got a tweet, Ryan, because Keith, you know, you're the GM. You're going to be busy for the next couple of seconds magically. It's going to be Ryan and myself here. That cool, man? You got the phone ready?
Yeah, I got almonds to eat.
All right, awesome, man. But yeah, we got a DM from David Writing. Now, this is a Fight Night fan. You know, we always assume that whenever we post a new video on the YouTube channel, you watch the first one. But given that it is an episodic series, Ryan, I want to give it to you now. You know, like, how can people, or how should people prepare themselves to enjoy Fight Night?
Yeah, so Fight Night, it kind of just started as me and Juan just playing the game for the first, 6 or 7 episodes, and we just kind of talked about some of the characters. And then right around kind of episodes 7 and 8 is when we actually started to make a story out of it, and that's where you see like the characters actually getting involved in feuds and crazy things start happening. So if you do want to check out Fight Night, a good thing to note is that a lot of those first 6-7 episodes are very introductory, introducing the characters, and then it starts to really pick up after that. And this is what better time to start than now, because by June 3rd you'll actually we're going to stream the entire season 2, and everyone can hang out, enjoy that, and then show the premiere of the season 2 finale. So very exciting stuff.
Yeah, we want to do more interactive community events like that, so if anybody has any idea, just send us a tweet, ByteThatCast. We're really looking forward to it. It's been just an awesome experience really doing that. Now, something else that is going to be happening this Friday on the channel is part 2 of our worst storylines in WWE history. We've been building that up for a couple of weeks now. We talk about Tim White, Fake Kane, the list goes on, and the torture just keeps on coming. So this Friday, part 2, and definitely drop a comment on that video for a possible part 3, because there are some doozies in wrestling, and I don't think 2 videos are enough to really justify some of the things that are happening in the world of wrestling. And in the weekend, Mr. Ryan McNulty may have a special video talking about something, and he has videos on the channel. Macho Man, Tyler Breeze, that's in there. You can check it out. I'm never going to let that die.
It's true. At least you didn't call me Ryan Savage this week, so that's a improvement.
Now, Ryan, now that you've savagely brought that up, let's breeze our way into the next conversation regarding the Bullet Club.
What?
Thank you, Keith.
You mean the club?
Oh, my bad. The club. Like the Babysitter's Club. But like, okay, seriously, like, why the club? That just seems so weird. It seems like a cop-out, like, we don't own this name, so we're just going to call it the club. And it seems so second-rate, and that's not like WWE. Usually it's like...
The thing is, though, with the whole club thing, I think it means that it's not going to last very long. I mean, we're all anticipating the whole Finn Balor debut and all of that. So my guess is when Finn Balor debuts, he'll take Gallows and Anderson, and then they will actually have a formal name. Until then, in the AJ storyline, I think they're just going to be called the Club.
Agreed. And then it's kind of like that wink, wink, nudge, nudge to everybody who calls it the Bullet Club anyway. Yeah,
that's true. But we just wanted to sort of bring that up for a little bit. It's crazy how the Bullet Club is completely taking over. In Ring of Honor, you have Adam Cole and Adam Page is his name also? I forget it. I believe it's two Adams or something. Yeah, we have more people officially joining the Bullet Club, and somebody posted a picture on Square Circle where technically, if you look at a lot of the major promotions, whether it be WWE, New Japan, NXT, and Ring of Honor, the Bullet Club has a very, very strong presence, whether it be Finn Balor at NXT, etc. Which, by the way, they did bring up that Finn Balor is going to be coming back on this week's episode of NXT. The reason that's so important is because they brought that up while AJ Styles was on Raw. So, maybe a little foreshadowing that something is really going to happen. I'm looking forward to that, but there's not much else we can really say about that except this other tremendous storyline development. So on SmackDown, Darren Young, but he hung out a little bit with Mr. Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund is a wrestling legend. This man was involved in TNA. He lost to Kevin Nash in like 8 seconds at one point in his career. I believe it was 8 seconds.
Yes.
Does anybody remember?
8 seconds, Madison Square Garden, house show for the title.
Yes. And apparently they want to make Darren Young great again. So they want him to grow that fro again. Because, if you're going to make him great again, there needs to be a reference point. So maybe like the Nexus is coming back. But real talk.
Was he ever great, though?
Yeah.
That's some deep honestly, commentary you got there, Ryan.
I'm not saying he was never good, but great is a very strong word.
What do you guys think about this combination? Bob Backlund, you have a legend there. You have Darren Young. You guys are just laughing right now, having a jolly good old time. What's up?
I know you love it, and I know exactly why you love it, because it is so freaking random, and that is why you love it.
Yep.
Apparently, this is something that Darren Young said on like Chris Jericho's podcast. It was like a storyline he's pitched that he really wants to do.
Yeah, he said that a while ago.
Yeah, I have no idea where it's going, but Bob Backlund is so ridiculous and so like different that I feel like he could carry this alone to make it very entertaining. And he just has so much energy and charisma that I think that's something that Darren Young needs to feed off of, because Darren Young, I think, is pretty underrated in the ring, and he's just a little too quiet, and this might actually kind of bring out something in him. And I'm glad to see him get involved in something, because Titus has really kind of overshadowed him like his whole career, basically, since the Primetime Players has been a thing. And it's cool to see Darren Young kind of forging his own path.
That's kind of weird. We're talking about making Darren Young great again. Now there's like a political campaigns happening all over the place. Puerto Rico, we have huge debt. So make Puerto Rico great again, for that matter. Please. Now let's get to the main event of Raw, or really what happened to the main event, I should say. So Nakamura almost happened.
Right?
For me. Because we had this whole thing where Jericho was attacked. And then, we found out it was Dean Ambrose. But the way Dean moved, I was like, why? Why would Nakamura show up on Raw? It makes no sense at all. What did you guys think about that? Did anybody else think the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. The way that Dean kind of moved and gyrated, I stopped and thought to myself for a moment, wait, no, it can't be. Turned out it wasn't. But, it was a good segment, but I'm disappointed that we got it in instead of Big Cass versus Jericho, because I thought that would be a really cool match.
Yeah, I didn't think it was Nakamura. I knew it was going to be Ambrose just because I was expecting him to get involved. And I'm not I've only seen Nakamura's entrance like once, so it wasn't like the first thing on my mind. Yeah, a little disappointed that we didn't get to see Big Cass do the main event. But like I said, I feel like they're also kind of protecting him, because that is a lot of pressure to just be thrown into the main event of Raw against Chris Jericho. I have no doubt it probably would have been a pretty good match, but I feel like they did just enough to get people to think, you know, oh, Big Cass is a big deal, without having to have either Jericho or Big Cass lose. So I thought it was a good way to do it. And then, of course, Ambrose ruining the jacket, which is apparently more than $15,000.
$25,000.
Normally, it's
snapmares.
like, you'd expect WWE to inflate the hell out of the price, which I totally thought they were doing, because how much does it really cost to put Christmas lights on a freaking jacket?
You knew that it was intense when the jacket had circuit boards inside of it. That's when I'm like, oh, this is a real deal. But to go back to kind of what we said last week, Jericho has great moments. That whole, like, him flipping out about the jacket, I thought was amazing, but I still feel nothing about that feud. Great moments, not that great feud.
Yeah, Jericho, I feel like it's because we are so used to kind of the Jericho formula at this point, that I think that's kind of the issue, where it's like, he's doing great work, in all honesty. He's a true heel. And, you know, his match, they had a pretty good match at Payback, but it's just like, you know, it's always, okay, we know Jericho's around all the way up until he leaves. So how long before, you know, Dean Ambrose gets the better of the feud and he's on his way out? Because it's like, we know he's not, like, Jericho's kind of always stuck in the same place on the card because of his, like, kind of part-time nature.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's just hard. We're so used to this Jericho formula that it's hard to really invest in him, because it's only a matter of time before he's gone again.
The one thing I got to say about this is it feels like Jericho is what The Rock would be if The Rock came back full time, where you know the repertoire, everything from their wrestling to their promos, and even if we're talking about, hey, stupid idiot, that's great. Jericho's doing great heel work. It just feels like Jericho is doing that which we know, and it's not that it's bad, but for somebody that has always said that whenever he comes back, you know, he likes to switch up his character, he did this in 2008, and it was just out of this league back then. Like, that was my favorite Jericho, and seeing a toned-down version of that right now, because we even got that later with CM Punk, so this will be the third time we really get this Chris Jericho, if you think about it. I think it's just like, man, I get it, but then you're facing off against Dean Ambrose, who has also had like an odd WWE career in the past couple of years. It's just not something that I love, and it's two guys that I really enjoy, like watching in WWE, which is the weird thing. So hypothetically, I should be all aboard the Lunatic Fringe train, but I'm not.
Sounds like a bad train.
Yeah, it seems like it would go off the rails.
Ambrose has his own set of issues of kind of being a little too hokey, and like we always critique his moveset and stuff. I mean, I still love Ambrose, but yeah, there's definitely some things that could be fixed. And Jericho, it's like, I mean, I've been watching this guy since 2000, and people have been watching him a lot longer than that. I mean, the guy's been wrestling for like 30 years.
Watching him
at
since
this
like
point.
96, 97?
Yeah.
Damn. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
so
we're
like,
old.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, I started watching wrestling in 2000, so I've pretty much been seeing Chris Jericho for over 15 years. Like, it's okay to kind of be tired of it, you know?
Jericho, you're not like Old Yeller. Old Yeller is the name I'm trying to say. We're not going to put you out. So don't worry about that, man. It's okay. It's okay.
We still love you, Jericho. It's just
we
not
love
time
you.
to go behind the barn yet, Jericho.
No, Keith would no. Well, you're the darkest one of the three of us, but no. Let's go back. WWE camp. Let's talk about that. But let's
Isn't
go
it
down
Camp
that dark
WWE?
path. Camp WWE, but that's what's on the agenda. That's what I'm going to read here. So the second episode is now out. They put them out every Monday before Raw now, I believe it is, or Sunday, something like that. And yeah, a lot of people are very surprised because it is definitely for adults. Everything from the language to the storylines. It's ridiculous. Like, the ages don't make sense. So, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin is younger than John Cena if you go by this series. But I want to take it to you, our resident camp expert, Keith. seems like, you're a
Camp
pretty
Ranger
terrible.
Keith.
Yeah, you're a pretty terrible person. It seems like it's something you would like.
Oh, I love this show. It's so good. Thank you for that lead up. But yeah, I found it to be hilarious, even though some of the jokes were very insider. Like my whole favorite running bit was when Triple H would talk. He'd always do that long. Just a bunch of dumb little subtle things, or how Vince McMahon broke his legs and then he instantly got up and he's like, yeah, the legs were a work style thing. Just a bunch of crazy little dumb insider jokes, and I think it's a great series.
Woo!
Yeah, and Ric Flair has sex with the bear multiple times in that episode. What more can you ask for in a cartoon?
Right, because you haven't watched it. It's not like, they insinuate it. No.
As Byte That's resident bear expert, I can say that was a good use of a bear in an episode. If you do not have context for that is a completely different thing.
I'll give it a shot. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Here's the last thing.
The pile.
Vince McMahon throws a pill onto the ocean, which summons a boat. But the boat then washes ashore. Almost. It's almost like a sensu bean or like a nimbus cloud. And then at the end, he summons a giraffe to then chase John Cena. He summons a freaking giraffe because he's Vince McMahon. And I don't know. It's an odd series. It's almost like the Edge and Christian show, where they're definitely going out there to reach a completely different demographic. It almost felt like, is WWE going to take this down?
As far as ratings go, it absolutely is a completely different demographic. That's why it won't really show up in the live feed, because it's not TV14. It's that is it TVMA? I believe.
Probably,
TVMA.
It probably has like a parent lock on it or something.
Yeah, it does.
And at least before the first episode, it reminds you, like, hey, don't let your kids watch this. Kind of crazy.
But how crazy is that, right? In today's PG WWE, here's the show that looks like it could be for kids, right? If you have this on mute, it's like, hey, a cool cartoon replacement for the Flintstones.
There was a quote I saw that I wish I could credit it to whoever I saw it from, but it seems like the type of show that a billionaire would put on his own network.
I mean, the show is about Vince McMahon.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at shows like Archer and the Robot Chicken, South Park. There's a market for those, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, all of those type of adult animated shows.
No, definitely. It's just weird that it's WWE, right? Because if you look at the content on the network, the two most hardcore things are technically ECW and then Camp.
But at the same time, they're doing that like WWE Kids thing, right? The thing with Izzy or whatever.
Yeah, they haven't started that, right? As far as I know, that's
I think
not
it's
up on
coming.
the network.
It's coming soon. So they're going to do kid-oriented things too.
Yeah, so it's like we mentioned when the network first launched. They're going to cater to everybody. You're going to sign up, and it is a lifelong experience in the network. Everybody listening, watching on YouTube, listening to us on the road, let us know what you think about WWE Camp by sending us a tweet, Byte That Cast, or dropping a comment on YouTube. Now, before we get to the questions, I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to everybody that attended my stream last Monday. I stream every Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So, yeah, just before Raw over at Press Pause TV. It was an awesome time. A lot of awesome people, many of you included. So, hope to see you guys next Monday. Words. Keith, drop them Q-bones, brother.
All right, Q-Bones, we're going to drop them like it's hot, but if you'd like to drop a question on us, you can do so by emailing bytethatcast@gmail.com. Head over to our Twitter, twitter.com/bytethatcast, maybe on YouTube, youtube.com/bytethatcast. Haven't done that in a few weeks. Was a little weird. Anyway.
So you could say, if you don't want to drop a Q-Bone, then you are Marowak.
All right,
wow.
Our first question comes in from Renus. Well played, Ryan. And they ask, hey guys, keep up the good work. We will. I have two questions. First question is for Juan. Do you like the Spanish commentators? And also, who could be that guy that will finally defeat Brock Lesnar? So Juan.
Little context. I did commentary in Puerto Rico for a while, both in English and Spanish. I don't like Spanish commentary. I don't like the style because generally, both in WWE from the times that I have heard it in Spanish and for Puerto Rico for that matter, it's very rhythmic. It's almost like too fake. So instead of saying DDT, it would be like, and he hits a DDT and he sends him to the ropes and he's going for the suplex. 1, 2. Oh, it's almost over. It's almost like you're more important than the match itself, and I don't like that. So even me in Puerto Rico, when I was doing play-by-play, somebody else was doing color, it was a really big contrast of me trying to do like, JR style commentary, but then the other guy's like very rhythmic, and I just don't get that appeal. Maybe somebody does like it. I don't personally. And who could be the guy that would defeat Brock Lesnar? Man.
I mean,
that is quite the question.
This answers Roman Reigns, right?
Reigns, the guy with the biggest pecs.
Roman Reigns.
Yeah, aside from that, there's really nobody else in the list.
Except John Cena.
Would you expect anyone else? Let's be real. Unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen. And you know what? Maybe it'll be good. Who knows?
I think it'll be good. I mean, they had a great match at WrestleMania.
I mean, people are going to be rip shit, but maybe that might be worth the price of admission alone.
Yes. Yeah. That'll be good for a whole other set of reasons. But nonetheless, thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from M. Morales F. And they ask, what are the most obscure wrestlers you can name? Now, I'm going to jump ahead on this one because I have one on the tip of my tongue, but I'm going to need Juan's help with this one. So we're going to go a bit inside here. There was a wrestler, Juan, that you posted his Titantron on YouTube to years ago. It was some prison guy, socially unacceptable.
Oh my God, Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, that's my answer.
Wow, that's going way back. Yeah, Alcatraz was an independent wrestler. That was pretty bad. Obscure. So what is obscure for you guys? Just
kind of really out there, not a name you typically hear. One that's probably some people have heard of that I think he retired several years ago, but the Human Tornado had one of the coolest like Titantron videos or whatever in the early YouTube days, and he actually had like a cameo in the Nacho Libre movie, but unfortunately, like, I don't think he never really he might have wrestled in ROH, I'm not sure, but he never really. I think
he's actually wrestling again a little bit.
Is he? I thought he retired, but he had a really cool gimmick and a sweet video that you could probably still find on YouTube.
Let's see here. On April 4th, 2013, Human Tornado made his in-ring return at Pro Wrestling Syndicate, but that is the last thing on a wiki. So
he also did an amazing spot of dunking a basketball and then doing a hurricanrana to someone. So,
oh my God, that's pretty badass. Awesome.
I'm just going to bring up an odd example, and yes, it's me. You guys are going to be very, very disappointed. 3 count in WCW. Just because we got a lot of awesome things there. The idea was that it was obscure. You can really say that. It was a boy band. You know, they were purposefully bad. But out of that badness, we got some really good ladder matches at the very end of WCW. WCW was not known for that. But because we got the TLC matches, they felt the necessity to really pull that off. And we got Shane Helms out of that later on with an awesome finishing maneuver that he could never do in WWE, the Vertebreaker, which was awesome. We got Shannon Moore, who, if you want to talk about obscure, he had that reject character in ECW and in TNA, the WWE ECW. Yeah. And then there's Evan Courageous, which that's probably the most anybody's ever talked about him in the past 10 years.
See, now to go on to that point, there was a man, a part of 3 count, that was so amazing, yet so obscure you didn't even mention him. And that is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated gimmicks of all time, and that is Tank Abbott.
Tank Berg.
Tank is the best. He is so underrated. He's so good.
Oh, man.
But thank you for the
question. Oh my God, Tank. No, just thinking about that now. Tank had like the most serious character to the point where he was almost like related to Goldberg. They called him Tankberg, but his last character was just this dancing weird freak. So he had the reverse effect that WWE would maybe do.
Indeed. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Peter D, who asks, "Aloha, guys. Just wanted to know how jealous you are on a scale of 1 to 4.
Someone is a huge troll, and I love it.
Yep, it's beautiful. But
yes,
how jealous are you that I will be attending the Hawaii live event? Now, for those who do not know what the buzz is around this Hawaii live event, Juan, why don't you tell them?
Yeah, they're actually going to be doing this, I'm assuming just a house show. They're not, broadcasting this or sponsoring it as a live event special for the network.
I heard it could be.
Yeah, it could be, but the one match that people just cannot stop talking about, two matches actually, are John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar. I actually got chills saying that. They're multiplying.
I mean, they could be amazing matches. Cena versus Nakamura is not something I can wrap my head around at this current time.
But isn't that amazing? I have no idea what that match would even be like. And that's why I hope it's not a special, actually. I want that to be saved for the right moment, when you really want to build that up.
I think it's definitely going to be a special. It screams like it's going to be like the Madison Square Garden one or whatever. It's going to be along those lines. It's not going to be... like, what the heck was the Dean Ambrose Triple H one? What was that called? Yeah, it's not going to be Roadblock. It's going to probably be more like the Madison Square Garden or like Beast in the East or something like that. Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar, I'm not as excited about because I feel like it's going to be no different than any of the other Brock Lesnar house show matches where, maybe he'll get a few moves in, but he's just going to get mainly squashed. But Nakamura versus John Cena, I think, has the potential to just be mind-blowing.
Agreed. And I'm also leaning more on the side of it being a network special. I feel like the dead giveaway is that Brock Lesnar's on it, because that's kind of always been
that's true
the staple of those live network shows.
Although there was one with Sheamus that wasn't aired.
True.
Sheamus.
But the majority have been aired.
Yeah, like that's always been the cornerstone of those
that's
network
the exception
specials.
to the rule.
And Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar, I've said it for years at this point. I don't want to see that match. I don't think it'll be very good. Their styles are very similar, or what they bring to the table is very close, and I don't think it'll clash well. But Nakamura and Cena, that match could blow all of our socks off. So yes, thank you for the question.
Oh wait, we didn't even truly answer on a scale of 1 to 4.
Yeah,
how jealous.
There's a reason, because I hate that scale.
4.
Hold on. I need to stop the show here for a second. My answer is 3.14159265359, aka pi. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Robert, and they ask, if you could meet any two superstars or divas in the present and have a meal with them, what restaurant would you go to, and who would you go to it with?
Okay, superstar number 1, 100% Xavier Woods, because he just seems like the coolest guy ever to hang out with. As far as number 2, I would probably choose Vince McMahon just because there's so many questions, just endless amounts of questions.
But would you want to do that over dinner? Really? Because there's talk time. There's talk time and there's eat time. Okay.
Well, it depends on the restaurant, really.
Yeah, and I don't know what restaurant. It doesn't really matter. I guess Golden Corral. I've never been there.
Which would be the worst place to ask somebody questions. It's a buffet. You don't wait for food.
Maybe Popeye's chicken, because of that Lucy ate a fast thing that always comes on.
Let's see here. For me,
Marketing
it would have to be, yes, The Undertaker and Enzo Amore at Dave & Buster's. I don't know. Just the idea of that happening seems amusing to me. And honestly, like, real talk, who wouldn't love to talk to The Undertaker? Somebody that's been so silent about his career. And then with Enzo, you can talk about NXT, the Performance Center, to get that, variety while you're shooting the hoops. Or, playing Angry Birds or Fruit Dice / game.
Fruit Ninja.
Fruit Ninja.
The Fruit Dice game, yes.
The Fruit Dicing game.
I only honestly have one answer for this, and I'd like to go for dinner with Big E and just, go to town on a steak, just a big old meaty steak.
And then you guys meet in the middle.
Exactly. No. I want to eat.
Where? Which place?
Just like a steakhouse. Name a good steakhouse in probably somewhere in the southern states, I would assume. As somebody that's never been there, probably make good steak. We'll leave that answer right there. Thank you for the question. Our next question comes from TMK Tanner, who asks, how long until the WWE cashes in on the money-printing Bullet Club versus Shield match? They say SummerSlam 2017.
I'm not convinced it may ever happen. I feel like the whole Shield reunion thing is definitely a ways out, and who knows what they're going to do with this whole Bullet Club thing. We don't really know what form the Bullet Club or the club is going to actually take, and they just may never coincide. So I would say that SummerSlam 2017 is maybe a generous time to suggest.
I have to agree with you with what you said, where that match may not happen. I think that as much as WWE is, experimenting with the whole Bullet Club, the club, making these references, including, outside talent in NXT, they have to draw the line somewhere. And honestly, at least for me, that match would not really mean anything for me, because what I care about the Bullet Club or the club or whatever you want to call them is, hey, how would WWE treat these guys? They built themselves on the outside, come in. But the idea of like Shield versus Bullet Club, at least to me, seems like, well, there's not much else happening right now. Let's go back to the well. And you have to think, like, how would that happen? Like, how could they justify that match happening? At some point, something so severe has to happen that Roman, Rollins, and Ambrose, they got to coincide. They got to agree and really pull off that tag team match. And they really should not do that anytime soon. With Rollins just coming back, I would dare say 2017, still too far off. And by the time they want to do that, it may end up like Undertaker's Sting, which, hey, it was a cool idea, not going to happen.
But if they really are going to bring Rollins back as a good guy, doesn't it make a little bit of sense? Like, okay, the club keeps beating Reigns down in whatever form it is at that point. Then all of a sudden the Usos just can't cut the mustard anymore. So now you have all three members of the Shield as good guys. Hey, Ambrose and Rollins are going to team up with Reigns to take care of this club. It probably won't be a full-time thing. It'll probably be a one-night-only thing, but seems to make a lot of sense.
Actually,
SummerSlam this year.
Yeah, actually, Keith, you kind of changed my opinion there, because, like, if you think about it, Reigns and Ambrose are already face, and we don't know what Rollins is going to do. It'd actually be super easy for them to do it at this year's SummerSlam, where Rollins can come back, play the babyface thing, you do the Bullet Club versus the Shield, and then Rollins can turn on the other guys afterwards or whatever. Like,
seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know. You might have swayed me on that one.
Fair enough. But thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Russ Bird 93, who asks, "Hey guys, big fan of the show. Thank you. Since it's inevitable that Finn is coming to Raw soon, who do you think will be competing for the NXT title besides Nakamura, since NXT is kind of restarting with all the call-ups? So Ryan, who do you think's going to be competing for the NXT title coming up?
Yeah, man,
soon?
I'm looking forward to this.
Well, you got anyone who used to be in TNA, right? You got Eric Young, you have Bobby Roode. So those are obviously two options right there.
Mm-hmm.
Such a cop-out answer.
You think that, but it's really
is that not
that
the
much
most
of a cop-out.
likely scenario.
Spoilers for last week's episode of NXT, but the main event was like the show consisted of a Austin Aries match followed by Samoa Joe versus Eric Young in the main event. Like, it did kind of feel like a TNA show at that point.
Was Mike Tenay part of it?
Probably somewhere in the back doing Mike Tenay things, whatever those may be.
Oh man, I don't want to know. But if I had to pick somebody, let me actually give two answers. One, NXT homegrown. My answer would be I have no idea, because honestly, they've kept that main event title scene so compact between Samoa Joe and Finn Balor that I see nobody that has been built up in NXT as somebody that can really pull that off. Apollo Crews would have been the best pick for that, I would say, against Samoa Joe. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So I would say Bobby Roode. I think Eric Young is going to be like the next James Storm. He pops in, cool, couple of matches, have a great day. So maybe Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger keeps popping in my head, but that just doesn't seem real.
Yeah, I honestly don't think Nakamura is going to be anywhere near the NXT title for the foreseeable future. He'll kind of carve out his own spot where maybe he'll have like a feud with somebody else on the roster, or just kind of keep having you don't really need to have Nakamura in a feud. He can take that squash match, hey, you're here to see him spot in the actual show. But as far as who's going to face Joe, yeah, honestly, the answers that make the most sense are like Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, basically just making it the TNA show. I don't really, even though I'd like to see more homegrown talent, I don't really see anybody really taking that role at this time. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Gray M, who asks, first says, LOL! I loved the answer in Spanish last week.
I'm sorry. I like how you said M when it's as if his last name is actually Movie.
You never know.
The one who has the Chris Jericho avatar. It's like a weird Chris Jericho face.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird Chris Jericho face. Anyway.
LOL. They loved the answer in Spanish last week. I found out after what you said. We're going to have a talk. But nonetheless, do you think that Natalya would be a good champion if she won the title from Charlotte?
Honestly, I think I'm going to try and be as nice as possible. I think Natalya is a great talent, but I don't think the audience is invested in her enough for her to have a very good reign as champion. I think she's kind of a good person to call it for a good feud, but after that, I don't know how much interest the audience would have in her, because I feel like they want to see Becky Lynch and they want to see Sasha Banks, and Natalya, she just isn't the cool new thing right now.
Exactly. As kind of cold and harsh as it is, if she won the title, it wouldn't be any more than that hey, thank you, pity run. And I think that's all people would see about it.
Of the women's division.
Absolutely.
And because I agree so much with Ryan, I'm just going to give a quick answer in Spanish. Y la contestación es que creo que no, porque la realidad es que si personas de Canadá, como la persona con quien yo estoy hablando ahora mismo, que me está mirando, él sabe que yo estoy hablando de él,
thing.
Yeah.
Pues entonces
no, I'm putting a stop
no me
to
gusta.
This. We speak one language here. And I understood one of those words, and I know you were talking about me.
No, but honestly, it's like with what Ryan said. Everybody's just waiting for either Becky or Sasha to become champion. So I think they like Natalya here because they know she's going to lose. She's not going to win the title. And if she did, they would just turn on her the way they did with Reigns, because Sasha wasn't champion.
Indeed. So thank you for the question. Our final one of the show comes from Andrew S., who asks, who do you think will have a more successful run in the WWE? Apollo Crews or Neville?
Apollo Crews, because I think he's just going to get infinitely more opportunities than Neville is, because he's just a bigger guy. I think Neville's probably more talented at the end of the day, but I think Apollo Crews is also very talented. But like we've said in the past, they're kind of very similar, where they're very weak on the mic, but they are amazing in the ring. So they both need a lot of personality interjected into their character. But Apollo Crews, by default, Vince is going to give him a ton more chances than he'll give Neville.
Unfortunately, I do agree. I think that neither of them are going to really go up that high. They do have that ceiling, because it's not, at least for me, it's not that they need a little work on the microphone or as a character. It doesn't work. Like, the moment they are not wrestling, I don't care about Apollo Crews. I don't care about Neville. And that goes a long way, to the majority of the people. You can only do enough shooting star presses or flippy stuff until you get to the point where it's just like, man, whatever, I get the deal. Otherwise, Evan Bourne would have been a 5-time champion.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that the short-term answer and the long-term answer are very different. I think short-term, Neville is going to have more success, because Apollo is going to have to hit a point in his career where he just crashes and burns. To go back to that whole, I could see something along the lines of Die, Rocky, Die, while not that extreme, happening to Apollo, where everybody just turns on him and rejects him, and he completely changes from that, which I will think will lead to a long-term success of Apollo.
It could even be very similar to like a Ryback situation where maybe he got really popular, but then like his weaknesses kind of shine through, and then like Ryback had to kind of go back down to the bottom to build himself up.
Yeah, really good comparison there. It's just a little unfortunate, you know, a lot of guys from NXT are being called up, and I know that we all hold them, you know, close to our hearts because we saw them grow the character, but like Tyler Breeze, it may not always pan out, so we have to learn to just not get offended by that. Not everybody can be a success, unfortunately, but thank you to everybody for the questions. Always keep them coming on Twitter, ByteThatCast with the hashtag AskBT, on YouTube, and at ByteThatCast@gmail.com. Remember, the Supercock and all the finance stuff is going to happen, and Mr. McNulty is going to fill you in with the positive power. My words, man, like I am dried out this episode. I don't know what's happening with me. I'm just going to drop it to you, Ryan.
Too much Supercock. You're dried out, man. Anyway, okay, so we want to thank you guys for listening to another edition of Byte That Podcast. Yeah, that was weird. I'm sorry. I apologize to everyone. That was inappropriate. But thank you guys for listening to another edition of the Byte That Podcast. If you regularly listen to the show, we consider you part of our family, the Byte Club, if you will. But some things you want to check out: our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. Hit that subscribe button. We just hit over 5,100 subscribers first. So thank you to everyone out there who's supporting us. Like Juan said at the top of the show, we are putting up content, 3 videos every single week, including this podcast. So this Friday, look out for that Worst Storylines in WWE Part 2. We talk about Tim White, Fake Kane, and a few more storylines, including a recent one. The Lana Rusev Summer Rae, Dolph Ziggler Love Square, whatever the hell you want to call that mess of a thing that we saw last summer. And yeah, stay tuned for a weekend video by yours truly this Sunday. So I don't even know what that's going to be yet. We'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks. But I mean, the coming days, I should say. And all right, it's getting weird now. So social media, you can check our Twitter at ByteThatCast, and Instagram, you can find us on Byte That. We're also on Wrestling Amino as Byte That. So thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.